Bonjour! Hello! Amelia is speechless. First time for everything.
I just shoved some food in my mouth.
As we were being told
sorry.
we're going live.
This is not what you do in television.
We are professionals.
When they say you've got 10 seconds, believe them.
Or put food in your mouth because stamina. You need food for stamina. So,
sorry guys.
welcome.
It's my late lunch snack. Oh. Well, this is not the best start. But thank you so much for joining us for Ask a Reporter again. I'm happy to be here.
Good.
I'm as a reporter this time, and not as a.
And I'm back in the host seat. I've got my host shirt on.
Now I've got stuff in my teeth.
She's got stuff in her teeth.
I'm sorry.
In case you don't know who we are, I'm Jack, and this is Amelia, but you guys probably know that.
You know what? Some of you might be new joining us with Ask a Reporter, and even with BTN this year. Maybe you've just started watching. Let us know.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello to you. This is an add-on to BTN called Ask a Reporter, where
I think they probably know what it is.
We ask a reporter questions about a story they did previously.
Yes.
It's all in the name.
It's all in the name. We also like to call it AAR. We're trying to make that take off. Could be so many things. Could be anger. Could be surprise.
Oh,
it could be a
sigh of relief.
or a pirate. Anyway, none of those have anything to do with what we're talking about today, which is fruit flies.
Yes.
Those pesky little creatures that have been running amok.
Yes.
They are...
there's one now. Get it off the camera.
It's on you. No.
Oh, that worked.
That was a very large one. That was a very large fruit fly because did you know fruit flies, and this might be a question, they're tiny. They're pretty small.
Oh.
Yes, they're actually very small.
Must be very hard to find.
They're smaller usually, I think, than your regular sort of flies that you bat away when you're outside in summer in particular.
And they're causing a bit of a problem here in South Australia.
Well, in South Australia, they are. They are found all around Australia, except for in South Australia and Tasmania. But they have managed to make their way in. One kind in particular, but I'm not sure how much I should say because we probably have some questions about it. I'm not sure.
Secrets.
Well, I'll just tell you, it's the Queensland. We're not good at keeping secrets here on Ask a Reporter. No. So it kind of goes against the whole point of it.
True.
We got to tell you all the stuff we know. So it's the Queensland fruit fly, which in the name it is found in Queensland, but it's also found in a lot of Is there a question? I don't know. I'll just keep talking. It's also found in a lot of Australia, but not normally in South Australia and Tasmania because those two states are fruit fly free. But yeah, it is now making some trouble in South Australia and must have got in, most likely from some naughty person bringing fruit across, or maybe they didn't realise, but either way you aren't actually meant to bring fruit across the border into South Australia.
I once had to, I was driving from New South Wales into South Australia and I had a banana and I had to get rid of that banana.
So how did you get rid of it, Jack?
Well, the person was like, you got any fruit? And I was like, you know what? I've got this banana.
So you got stopped?
Yeah, I got stopped.
Yeah.
I didn't get a fine, which was very nice.
I was going to say, our producer, Sarah, got fined. She was fined for having, I'm pretty sure it was a banana. Possibly a carrot as well. She might have had a couple of things.
Maybe I did get a fine and I never paid it. No, I definitely didn't.
No, you wouldn't.
I did ask if I could eat the banana and they didn't let me eat it.
Really?
No.
How interesting! They wouldn't even let you eat it.
Out. Yeah.
That's funny. You think they'd be like, all right, just eat it quickly.
Or he was like, your potassium levels are high enough. You don't need this banana.
You look like a healthy person. You're fine. Do you need it? Yeah.
They said, nah. All right. We do have a question.
Getting the wrap up. We haven't even started on any questions yet.
I'll go to Kaylee from Rocky River Public School because Kaylee asked, where do the fruit flies come from and are they dangerous to humans? So that you've kind of answered where they come from, where one of them comes from.
Can we just clarify really quickly before we get to that question? Someone was asking where I was or what I was doing last week.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Just to clarify.
Dear BTN, very formal.
Very
What
formal.
and when was the worst fruit fly outbreak? And if Amelia is here, did the COVID test feel weird? And that's from Cat, in brackets, the kitten, from Bayswater
kitten.
South Primary School in Melbourne. How are you typing, kitten?
You're like the guy with the filter from yesterday. Who, if
The
you haven't
lawyer.
seen it, look up the cat filter lawyer.
Or watch Newsbreak on YouTube, because
Yes.
Lily did a very fun story
She
about
did.
that.
So Cat the kitten. I think that was really nice of you to ask about my COVID test.
How was it?
And yes, I did have to have a COVID test, and I actually have to go back for another one. I travelled to Melbourne, and if you are watching from Melbourne as well, oh, tough. Again, you guys are going back into lockdown, but fingers crossed for you that everything works out well and the authorities can get on top of those cases where you are.
We know what to do now in lockdown.
Yes,
I
so
think, as
let's
well.
really, do the right thing. Make sure you follow all the instructions and wear masks where you need to. If it's, something they're saying that kids have to do as well. But yeah. Look, honestly, I was in Melbourne and visiting my friends and family, and I came back to South Australia, and so there was then the outbreak, and I had to get a COVID test. But look, it's a pretty easy process, and you get your results back really quite quickly these days. So yeah, don't.
It does feel weird,
You've
though.
got to do it. It definitely feels a bit weird.
But it's not
for
too
sure.
weird.
Yeah, I think people have different experiences. Some people it feels like nothing much. Some people it's a little bit more uncomfortable. But either way, it's important to do. So yeah. That's where I was. Now to answer that question, then we'll go back to the question before maybe as well.
Okay.
Should we do that? All right. So
do
just
that.
really quickly about was it the worst
The
outbreak?
worst fruit fly outbreak.
Yeah, okay, so I don't know about the worst fruit fly outbreak in the world, but this outbreak is definitely one of the worst that South Australia has ever experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So as a place that doesn't normally have fruit fly, it's definitely not a good thing for farmers, people in the fruit and veggie growing business, because you want your fruit to be nice and healthy, and your crops to be nice and healthy, and you want to be able to sell that fruit to people, because hey, I don't know about you, but I really like fruit, and it can then become really difficult as well for people to access certain fruits if there are problems with the crops, or the prices might go up if there's more demand than there is produce. So yeah, all sorts of problems can happen from this fruit fly, so it's a pretty bad thing.
So moving straight on to Kaylee, who I mentioned is from Rocky River Public School. I just like
Kaylee.
saying Rocky River. Is the river really rocky? Where do the fruit flies come from?
Yeah.
And also, are they dangerous to humans?
Yeah. Look, fruit flies aren't dangerous to humans as far as I know. I don't know about all species. But what was that? Sorry, I missed that.
We've got an answer for if they're dangerous coming on later. But where do the fruit flies come
okay,
from?
sure. So fruit flies. Fruit flies. There are like more than 100 species of fruit flies in Australia, but it's only the two that I mentioned in my story that are actual pests for us. They're like a big problem. So that's the Mediterranean fruit fly and the Queensland fruit fly. I think we can have a little look at them actually. Not that one. Wrong one. That's all right though.
Ooh, a map.
We'll come back to that map.
Ooh.
This is the one where I was wanting. So, remind me which one's which? Can't remember. I think that's Queensland and that's Mediterranean. That's right. So they're actually, it's funny, if you look at a picture, an actual photo of them too, they're actually very like pretty looking flies. What are you doing?
I was trying to put a crown on it so we knew it was a queen in Queensland.
From Queensland.
But I can't quite work out the mirror.
And no, you're really struggling there, Jack. But yeah, they're actually very interesting patterned fruit flies. So if you do see one though, and you are in South Australia, it's important that you make sure to address it and that you contact your council. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later anyway. So they're the biggest problem. There are lots of them. And what was the rest of Kaylee's question? I forgot.
No, we're going to answer that later.
We're going to answer that later.
There
okay,
wasn't.
We'll come back to the rest of your question, Kaylee. Thanks so much.
Let's go to Luna now.
Hey,
from
Luna.
Cambridge.
Cool name.
Yeah. It's a new moon tonight. Speaking of Luna.
That's the second time you have told me that today.
Okay. How long do fruit flies live? And I believe we've actually contacted an expert because,
We
Amelia,
have.
as much knowledge you know on fruit flies, you don't know it all.
You can't. One person can't know it all. Well, maybe they
No,
can. Maybe this
they
next person
probably can.
does, but I don't.
But yes.
So let's speak to Nick.
Yes.
Yes, and he's from PIRSA.
PIRSA.
Which is the government organisation in charge of agricultural things in South Australia. Check
So
it out.
I'm Nick Seckham. I'm the Manager of Plant Health Operations with Primary Industries and Regions. And as part of my job, we respond to fruit fly outbreaks if they occur. Now, fruit flies are a really interesting little animal because it can live for different lengths of time depending on the season and what the weather's doing. And so in the warm months, a fruit fly can complete its whole life cycle from start to finish in less than a month. But then it's a really smart little mechanism, an evolutionary mechanism where in the winter time it can last for several months and overwinter as an adult, slow down its metabolism and make that whole thing go a lot longer. And so it's a really tricky pest to manage in that sense because it's able to adapt to the conditions that the environment presents to it.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
There you go.
I have a question while that was playing, which
Yeah.
I found very amusing.
Okay.
I don't know how true the school is, the school name. The first name I know to be a name because it's from Amelia,
Okay.
but the school says clock, so,
All right.
I mean, unless you go to school time. That's not the point. The point is, the question is, are fruit flies able to be pets? Because they're pests at the moment. But could we move that S and put it to the end? Or
Maybe
take out one
we
S.
could.
Pets.
Although you don't want to go keeping the two pests because they will not make good pets because you'll upset a lot of people who grow fruits and veggies. Even people who grow fruits and veggies in their backyard are going to be a bit annoyed if your little pet escapes. So
Yes.
don't try that. But I don't know, potentially maybe some other kinds of fruit flies. Why do you really want a fruit fly as a pet?
Or just
any
or a
fly as a pet?
Well, I guess
don't.
it's like flea
really
circuses.
Yeah,
Or is that just
I've always
in
found that
movies?
weird. I don't know. I think that was maybe it's just in a movie. Maybe it's just a cartoon thing. I'm not sure. Look up flea circuses. We need to note to self. Yeah, look, I personally don't think I'd be that entertained by having a fly as a pet. But hey, each to their own. If you can catch one, that's probably the thing that you need to
That's the
attempt
other
next
thing.
is catching a fly.
Cats are
Yeah.
good at catching flies.
Are they?
Well, I think so.
Let's move on.
Okay, let's go to Zach from St.
Gotta
Charles
keep you in
College.
check.
Yes. No. So Zach wants to know how many kinds of fruit flies are in the world.
The whole world, Zach.
So in
Zach,
Australia there's
Zach,
two.
There are more than 100 species of
Oh.
fruit flies in Australia, but those are the pests.
Ah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
the
so they're not all
Queensland
pests.
fruit fly, no, and the Mediterranean fruit fly are the two pests that are found in Australia. Yeah, but no, there are lots of species. In fact, all over the globe, I wrote it down. I think it was more than 4,000
More than
species.
4,000.
More than
Oh, I had the answer here.
4,000 species. Because I was worried I'd forget that, and I did. So there you go, Zach. There's a lot. It's a lot of
That
different
is a lot.
fruit flies.
Wowza.
Wowza.
Let's go back to a question that Nick is going to answer for us. Because unlike Amelia, he doesn't need to have notes. No, I'm just teasing. I have notes sometimes too when I do this.
Yeah.
This is from Shira, and the school is Shira Girl. These schools sound a
schools
little
are
made up.
sounding a little
But that's
bit
all right. That
suspicious.
doesn't bother us really. Why do fruit flies lay eggs in fruit, and why are their eggs shaped like a
this
thin
is-
oval?
That's really cool. All right. Well, let's see what Nick has to say. I love this.
Thanks, Shira. So fruit flies are a really interesting little animal, and as you can see there, they produce millions and millions and millions of little babies if we let them. And their life cycle sees the fruit fly, the adult fruit fly, lay their eggs in fruit. And once those eggs are in there, they hatch into larvae, little maggots, and then those fruit fly will come out of the fruit and pupate in the soil, a little bit like a moth will go into a cocoon before it becomes an adult. And that completes its life cycle. So we try and break that life cycle. But the eggs are really interesting too. So like a chicken egg, Eggs are really amazing little things, a point of evolution that they've just made this way because they're really effective. And even though this isn't a fruit fly egg, it's a similar shape. And they're built that way because they've got a really large surface area. And eggs, believe it or not, breathe. And the little baby fruit fly inside the egg needs to breathe. And by being that shape, they're able to maximise the ability to get the oxygen and the things they need inside the egg to keep on living.
Interesting,
there you
huh?
go.
There you go. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Let's go to a question from Felix now, from Rollins Plains Upper Primary Public School.
Rollins Plains.
Hey.
Hey, Felix. You guys are long-time
viewers, long-time sender of questioners. That wasn't one. Why does Tas not have fruit flies?
Tasmania. Why does Tasmania not have fruit flies? That's a really good question, Felix. Well, very much for the same reason that South Australia didn't as well, because they've been quarantining since way before quarantining was cool, in a COVID sense.
Okay.
It's not really cool anymore either, but they've been quarantining for a really long time, and quarantining is that word that we associate so much with COVID these days, but really it just means isolating something so that it doesn't infect something else. And so in the case of fruit and some veggies that fruit flies like to inhabit and breed in, they have been stopping people from bringing stuff over, like how Jack was stopped. So they stopped people from bringing their fruit and veggies into South Australia, and the same with Tasmania, into Tasmania. So when you're going into either of those states, you can sometimes see like boxes where you can deposit your fruits and veggies and get rid of them, or you might be stopped. And yeah, it's a really effective way of stopping fruit fly, because what they do is they actually tend to be moved around and transfer through the fruit, the infected fruit, because I think we haven't completely talked about this yet, have we? Well, they lay their eggs, I think we'll have a video soon about this, they lay their eggs inside though, basically, and so then they have maggots that hatch inside, and if that infested fruit then gets carried across the border, those maggots can come out, and then they actually burrow into the ground. We'll go into this soon, and they come up as fruit flies, and then they'll go and find the closest fruit. So that's how they spread, and they can also breed like a lot. So one female fruit fly has I think up to 1,000.
100.
Oh, was it 100? Oh, I thought I read, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, okay. Well, I thought I read even more than 100, but yeah, possibly more than even 100 babies, so in its lifetime, and that's just one. So you can imagine how they can infest. Really.
Individual fruit. So yeah, in its lifetime.
Oh, in its lifetime, yes, there you go. Right. So in an individual fruit, up to 100, but yeah, so 1,000 or so, more than that in their lifetime. So you can imagine, yeah, these flies spread so easily. But interestingly, it doesn't seem like they actually seem to move too much around. It's not like they're flying from South Australia over to Victoria.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Sorry, from Victoria over to South Australia. Yeah, which is really weird, but I suppose that's just I think maybe if you had it right on the border, but I think it's just a thing where they just kind of tend to remain and live in an area
if you're a little
someone
fly,
comes and gets rid of them.
It'll take a long time for you to fly from,
maybe they just don't even live
Sydney
long enough to do that.
To Adelaide.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I didn't look into exactly why, but that's, it's just obviously not something that they're able to do. So yes, it's really, really important to quarantine fruit in those states and make sure that the fruit and veggies don't enter. And so that's why Tassie has managed to remain fruit fly free, and hopefully South Australia is able to get this outbreak under control with their restrictions, which I talked about in my story. It's weirdly like COVID, isn't it, but with fruit. They have restrictions, there's quarantining, you have to hashtag stay home while eating your fruit.
So similar. Remarkable. Let's go to Lucas, who is also from Rollins Plains Upper Public School.
I love the way you say that. I'm sure Rollins
Very
Plains
exaggerated.
does too. Yeah.
What is the most effective way of exterminating fruit flies? And I believe Nick is going to answer this.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Check it out.
Thanks, Lucas. That's a really good question, and there's a number of different things we can use to eradicate fruit fly. For starters, one of the things we do to make sure that we understand what's happening in the population is we hang a lot of traps. And in South Australia, there's over 7,500 traps like this. And inside each one is a little pad where we put an attractant, which brings the fly in, and also a toxicant, so when it comes in, it dies. And our inspectors can check those traps so we can monitor what the population's doing. But there's also a number of things we put out in the field. We use an organic bait that we apply every week, twice weekly in some areas, to make sure that the flies can be attracted to it, they eat the bait and they die. But the really important thing to kill fruit flies is to break their life cycle. And so the way to do that is to make sure that any maggots or any eggs that they've laid in the fruit isn't allowed to get back in the ground. And so we make sure that we pick up fruit and we put it into our green waste bin, and that way we can make sure we break the life cycle and the next generation isn't there to cause a problem for everyone.
There you go.
Good one. Let's go to Monique has a question from Brisbane SDE. Hello, Monique. How do fruit flies get inside of decayed fruit?
Cool. So this is sort of what I was talking about a little bit. And I think we have a video that we can check out that's going to show you how those gross maggots get inside. And this is a really interesting one as well, because I don't know about you, but I think as a kid I didn't quite realise how, and even as an adult, how maggots are like the the offspring of flies, and how they actually become flies. Have you ever thought about it?
No.
There you go.
I just see maggots and go, ugh.
I know, Grace. Check it out. Have a look.
So what do Queensland fruit flies look like? Adult flies are approximately 7 millimetres long and are reddish-brown in colour with distinct yellow markings. Queensland fruit fly goes through 4 main stages of life. The adult female Queensland fruit fly injects her eggs into host fruit, laying up to 100 eggs a day. Eggs are white and 1 millimetre long, which makes them hard to see. You may see tiny puncture marks in fruit. The eggs hatch into creamy yellow maggots that grow up to 9 millimetres long. The maggots feed on the fruit, eventually chewing their way out. The maggots then burrow into the ground and change into oval, brown, hard pupae. After a few weeks, if conditions are suitable, the fruit flies come out of the ground and look for food around gardens. After feeding and mating, females search for suitable ripe fruit to lay their eggs into, and their cycle continues.
Isn't that so interesting? Thank you so much for to Agriculture Victoria as well for that video.
There you go. It's kind of like a butterfly.
Yes, I mean it is sort of similar. Like it's how a butterfly, it's a caterpillar and cocoon. Yeah, there you go.
Very interesting.
Very interesting
Animals,
stuff.
the world around us. Let's go to William, who we kind of teased this question at the start unintentionally. But William is from Glen Catherine Primary School and wants to know, are fruit flies harmful to humans?
Yes, because Kaylee asked the same sort of question. So
and we all want to
William
know
and
because we are humans, except for Cat the kitten.
Yeah, she doesn't have to worry.
Doesn't she?
We'll see what Nick has to say.
Let's have
a look.
Thanks, William. And look, fruit fly can't hurt people. They're not harmful to us, but they are really harmful to the crops that we like to eat and to our farmers who are producing millions and millions worth of produce that we all love to eat. So fruit fly can get into these crops that all of us like to eat, these healthy fruit crops. And if we don't do something to eradicate fruit fly, it can impact the availability of that fruit. And so while fruit fly can't hurt us, we need to make sure we eradicate them and control them in the areas where they are, so that we don't have them in our fruit and we can eat nice, clean, green produce.
Yeah, so in that sense, they are kind of like annoying and extremely damaging. They're actually one of the most damaging pests in the world, as far as like agriculture goes. Yeah, they're really, really, really bad because they just spread so easily and really ruin all of this lovely, lovely fruit and some veggies. So there you go. But yeah, they're not good. They're not actually harmful to us as such, as Nick said. Yeah.
Cat the kitten, we cannot confirm.
Animals.
Cats.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
Cannot confirm.
Maybe
Might
next
have to do
week.
your own research.
I'm going to go to James, who is clearly thinking of what can be done.
Okay.
Because James wants to know, are there any insects that can eat or kill fruit flies? And James is homeschooled, and I want to give a shout out because Catherine, James, Charlotte, and Frederick, they all sent in a question together, and they've sent in a few, but I'm going to assume you guys are all together.
All being homeschooled together.
Watching this, so hello.
How cool. Hey, guys.
So, yes, is there anything, what can we do? Is a cat going to save us?
Well, Cat the kitten, maybe. But look, I think it's actually, there are, from what I understand, definitely different insects which tend to eat fruit flies or eat the maggots. Their
the
offspring,
eggs.
the maggots are the egg sort of things. There's definitely, that's the cycle of life. There are usually lots of different insects that eat other insects and then animals that will eat those insects. So for sure. I don't know if you'd want to rely on that though, because that would potentially mean if you were trying to get rid of fruit flies by bringing something in to consume them, then you might end up with a lot of that other insect, and that can cause problems for the ecosystem. So, but naturally, yes, that is something that happens. So there are all sorts of different, like wasps eat some kinds of fruit flies. I actually read something about chickens are quite handy because, as you saw in that last video, the maggots will, burrow underground before becoming flies and going through that cocoon process. The chickens will go through the ground and and try and get them and things. So so chooks, if you've got chooks in your backyard, it might be handy if you're struggling with fruit fly.
Well, April isn't struggling with fruit flies, but if she was, she might get a chicken. She's from Lake Scrummer. Sorry, that wasn't a very good segue.
You tried though.
April says, "Hi BTN, are there fruit flies in New South Wales? If so, what fruit fly?"
Yeah, so April, there are fruit flies in New South Wales, and that will bring us back to that map that we teased again earlier. We're teasing a lot of things to come in this show. So as you can see here, you've got the Mediterranean fruit fly on the left. Is that your left? Anyway, Western Australia. So that's actually only found there, which is really interesting. Whereas the Queensland fruit fly is found all around. Can you see that?
That
there?
misleading name.
It is very misleading, although it is a lot of them are in Queensland there as well. But, you can see there, April, that in New South Wales there is a big section of fruit fly infested area there. So, yeah. So it's actually quite interesting. It's not obviously the end of the world having fruit fly. It's just, it has to be kept under control. So that's why lots of farmers in those other states where fruit fly exists would just have to work really hard to try and keep their crops from becoming infested. And there are all sorts of ways to do that. I've mentioned some of them in my story, whether it's like baits and traps, or even netting, or spraying with pesticides. And that's not a super popular way, from what I gather, of getting rid of them, or at least it wasn't in the past, because you were putting chemicals on your produce or around your produce, and that's not ideal. But these days, apparently, there are some organic pesticides that farmers can use. So there you go.
There you go. Do we have time for one more question?
I think so, yeah. And I think we have one more video maybe from Nick that talks about. Have we watched the one where there's one that's really interesting about things that you can actually do? And this is handy for you.
Well, let's go to that. Is this from Lucas?
It's just no one.
Oh,
it's just really interesting. So if you're wondering something, this is actually really good because I didn't actually end up getting to put this in my story. So this is just some things that you can do at home if you have a fruit tree, which a lot of us do, any kinds of fruit trees. And if you were wondering about fruit fly, make sure, especially if you are in South Australia at the moment where it's a big problem, make sure you do what Nick's about to tell you. So let's check it out.
So fruit fly loves to put its eggs into fruit, and that's how it completes its life cycle. The female fruit fly will come and sting the fruit and put its ovipositor, that's the part of the female fly's body that lays the eggs, into the fruit. And so what we ask people to do is to check their fruit and have a look and cut it open, and hopefully you can see really quickly that this is a good peach. There's no maggots in there or anything. But if people at home, if they cut their fruit up into little pieces, and if they see anything that looks like fruit fly, that's when we'd be worried. And we'd ask that you contact your local department to see if there's anything you should do if you do find larvae when you pick up and cut up your fruit.
So there you go, cutting your fruit is very
Cut your fruit.
handy. And yeah, make sure you do definitely report it if you're in South Australia, and at the moment, especially around the Riverland area and in some of the regional spots, but also in metropolitan Adelaide. You can have a look online though on some government sites, PERSA for instance, and see if you can, if you're in any of those quarantined areas. You might even be one of the kids who isn't able to take fruit to school in your lunchbox. That's okay, you can still eat it at home.
I don't want to be in that world.
Some fruit, yeah.
Some
I love,
fruit.
well, it's quite a lot. There's quite a lot of fruit, to be honest. Yeah, the fruit flies are really keen on a lot of fruit.
Watermelon?
Oh, one thing I didn't get to say as well, just really quickly, is that they are attracted to... Oh, sorry, I didn't answer you. Watermelon, maybe. I can't remember. If watermelon's one of them.
I just really like watermelon.
Quite possibly. We'll check for you, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But yeah, I think a few of you asked, just really quickly, I'll just say, about like what they're attracted to. Did we talk about that? Like why they like fruit?
No, why do they like
just
fruit?
because that seems to be like a glaringly obvious question that I think a few of you have asked. So my understanding is that they just really are attracted to the sort of, especially like sweet fruits, the sweeter fruits, and so it must be something where it's like the scent and things like that, and the especially the fermentation process of when fruit starts to decay and it actually becomes like a bit like of an alcohol kind of smell and things. They really love that and they're really attracted to that. But they're also attracted to other things. Sometimes they're attracted to like just bins and stuff, like things that are decaying, and also moist decaying, rotting things, which is why fruit is just really great for them, because once it starts to, go off, they really enjoy it. But they often, when they lay their eggs as well, they sort of feed from the outside, and so it starts to rot during that time as well, and they enjoy it. So it's all quite gross, but kind of great.
And I'll just quick, we had a couple of people, Damien and Sia. Damien's from Carlingford Public School, Sia from St John's Vianney's Manly. May have said some of that wrong, but they both asked why they were attracted to fruit.
There you go.
So
good question.
they were wondering. Someone else did, but it just said, the name said hi, and then the school said I'm happy, which is nice.
I don't think that's a school, but I think that's
good.
good. I'm happy.
Good.
You're happy.
Well, I think we've gone over time.
We have, so we should probably go. Any shout outs at the end here?
We've got so Winona?
Winona. A few Winonas. Yeah, cool.
Flinders Park
Lots of kids
Primary
from Winona.
School.
Where are you, Winona? Let us know next time.
Carlton North Primary School, Radford College, Adamon Public School, Smith, OLSC, Nowra, Lane Cove West, Linfield Public School, Clock. That was one.
That wasn't one.
Homeschool Jedi Academy. Whoa,
that's pretty cool. Oh, look at this. Do you want to just really quickly see if watermelon's on this list? We'll show you a quick list.
It's not, and I'll
of
leave
what?
that at the end of the show.
Okay, cool. So we're going to leave you with a list of, it was in my story briefly, but which fruit and vegetables fruit flies like. And watermelon it's not on the list, Jack, so you're all right. You can eat your watermelon and not have to ever worry about a maggot being in it.
Oh, good.
Isn't that lovely?
That makes me happy.
It's not a problem. Fruit fly can still probably anyway. Keep going.
Well, yeah, they don't like it so much.
Exactly.
But I do, and that's
They're not that's
a good thing to end on.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll leave you with this list. But thank you so much for joining us for Ask a Reporter again.
Yes,
also, I
thank
really
you.
enjoyed that I wasn't the only one, who like really struggles to pronounce some things.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry. No, you did really
No,
well.
we do struggle.
No, we
Send
do,
in your,
so
your complaints.
I really
and
enjoyed that.
compliments.
I was like, oh, good. Jack's trying to read the school names and doesn't know what he's doing either.
Sorry. I'm very sorry.
But anyway, thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Have a good weekend.
Have a
Stay
great
safe.
weekend.
Take care of yourselves. Bye.
Bye.